All right, now for our prepared speeches. Our first speaker is Sarah Coble. We as people have the desire to learn and be knowledgeable. Many of us have been bred to believe that receiving a college education will give you the tools and ability to succeed in life. But in recent years, American colleges have been in the news and headlines. Colleges today are being scrutinized for their high tuition costs, skyrocketing student loan debt, and overall lack of worth. For Sarah's seventh speech, she will be talking about the overall worth of American colleges by sharing her personal experiences, analyzing what exactly you are paying for, how much you'll be paying after you graduate, and the solutions to help better the quality of education. Speaking for 8 to 10 minutes on college, is it worth it? Welcome, Sarah Coble.
I'm sure you all know that song, Hop in Circumstance. And what a song that is. As that song plays, as you march up the steps and reach out for your diploma that you worked so hard to receive. There's much build up to that moment. You enter high school preparing for college. You enter college being told that you'll have the promise of higher paid jobs, the luxury of buying whatever you please, and living the American dream. We are told this is the path that we must take. When I entered college, I was filled with excitement. Here was my chance to finally learn the things that I wanted to learn. I was able to graduate in 4 years. I was one of the youngest students graduating with my communications class. I got asked the question very often, how was I able to graduate on time? My simple answer was, as soon as I entered college, I knew I needed to finish as quickly as possible. Not quite the answer you were expecting. I've been a huge advocate for education, especially higher education, but not so much anymore. The reason for this is because my experience in college was, for the most part to me, a waste of time and money. I was constantly disappointed by the quality of education and the overall lack of enthusiasm from my teachers. Every quarter, I would have a teacher that would either cut workload, cut tests, blame the students for not having enough motivation to show up or want to learn at all. Teachers that didn't show up at all, with me sending them emails saying, by the way, you do realize that you're missing class right now, don't you? And let's not forget that once you're in college, you're not even allowed to take the classes you want. You have to take the GE classes. I entered college knowing full well I do not like science, but I was still forced to take biology classes so I could be an overall well-rounded student. I found that after I graduated and actually started working, I learned more in the 3 months of working on the job than I ever did in college. Today, I want to talk about college and the overall worth of attending a four-year university. I'm going to talk about the costs of attending university, how much debt students are graduating with, and last, I want to offer some of my solutions of what I think can help better education. Numerous sources and government officials, such as Hillary Clinton, have made claim that by having a college degree, you're more likely to make $1 million more in a lifetime than someone with just a high school degree. But let's just take a look at what an average college cost actually is costing you. First, there's tuition. The annual cost of a four-year university is about $27,293 a year. The price of tuition has risen 29% from 5 years ago, where the price of tuition was $21,235. Once you're enrolled in college, you still have to pay your student fees. Student fees can include anything from your associated clubs on campus, student parking, paying for libraries and new buildings that are coming in. Student fees vary greatly from college to college, so that number is a little bit harder to estimate, but those numbers, when you do enroll in college, they steadily go up every year. If you decide to live on campus, then you have to pay for housing and meals. The College Board reports that the average cost of room and board from 2012 to 2013 ranged from $9,205 for a public school and $10,000 for a private university, and that's just for housing and meals. Then don't forget about those books. Average cost of books are $200. The price of books have tripled in price since 2005. And once you buy those books, the resale value quickly loses value because the publishers are encouraged to always make newer edits with very few modifications in the book. So once a newer version is out, that book is now worthless and you cannot get the value back. And last, if you decide not to live on campus, you have personal transportation. And we all know gas prices are ridiculously high right now. February 2013 saw record high gas prices for the time of year, according to news reports such as CNBC. Today's price in gas is now 17.6 cents more than it was just a year ago. So with this foundation of pricing in place, let's also not forget that when you are enrolled in tuition, there's also inflation, that lovely word, inflation. Average inflation cost for colleges is 5.15%. And this is only assuming that it stays at that inflation rate. Most likely it's increased since I got this information. So on the assumption that inflation rate will stay at 5.15% and you're paying $27,293 a year, that means for just a 4-year university, you're going to be paying $117,900. But let's also remember that on average, students take 5 to 6 years to graduate. So now that price is raised even more. So with colleges costing so much, why are colleges steadily seeing an increase in enrollment? I have 2 words for you: student loans. The class of 2013 grads averages a total average debt of $35,000. Student loans and student debts has been grabbing attention for the last few years because now student debt is higher than credit card debt. Student loans are a blessing in disguise. The same way that the real estate bubble was created is the same thing that's happening with student loans. The government, with the backing of the Federal Reserve, created loans to hand out without requiring any background check on the actual student. So, for the student who wasn't able to afford college but wanted to go to college, they would apply for student loans knowing that the banks would not do any credit check on them. Therefore, giving out loans, while the student may not necessarily be able to pay for them. Many students are unaware that when they graduate, how much debt they're actually paying for. So if college grads do find a job, they'll be spending most of their earnings to pay off that student debt. And not to mention that even when you do graduate and you're done with school, or even if you pass away, the interest rates are still accruing every year until it's completely paid off. It's a vicious cycle that has to stop. With those stats I've gotten, you must be wondering, so bottom line, is college worth it? I definitely do believe in education and I do find it's important. But I believe the quality of education and the way that we are teaching students needs to change. And here are 5 tips that I have of what I think will help. First, giving real-life tools. Students need to be given real-life solutions that are relatable and realistic, so that when they graduate, they know how to address common problems. School might be teaching you how to write and do math, but they're not teaching you the basics of living your day-to-day life. They're not teaching you how to take care of your finances, how to plan for retirement, how to start your own business, or even how to use the internet. Point number 2, education should be about teaching the latest and newest technologies. Teachers should teach students how to use tools such as the internet to help with research. In this day and age, using the library, reading books, is an outdated way of getting information. My personal experience, I was constantly attending classrooms that still use chalkboards. Not very fun, terrible smell. Point number 3, individuality needs to be encouraged. Everyone learns differently. It's impossible to create a course outline that relates to every student. Instead, students are being told that there is only one way of doing something, and that's usually the teacher's way. And that's in part thanks to No Child Left Behind policy. Students should be encouraged to embrace their individuality. Classrooms, I believe, should be set up more like a business. Your teacher is your boss, and your projects are your assignments are your projects. If you don't do the project, you don't get paid. Point number 4, college is not meant for everyone. Not every single person should be attending colleges. For example, someone who is an art major, I don't think should be going to college. Instead, I think that they would be more suited for a trade school or an apprenticeship. Those who are interested in science, technology, and health should go to college, but I don't believe that they should be required to take GE classes. My last point, number 5, is incentives. I don't believe that the government should pay for everyone's education, but I do believe they should be offering incentives. Some of the incentives that they should include are, if you do well in high school, then you should be offered lower tuition costs. Incentives for encouraging students to enter majors that have low enrollment of students. For example, engineering majors have low enrollment of women. Therefore, they should offer incentives to women to encourage them to join and get the engineering major. And then when they do graduate, the government should offer an incentives package to help students get on their feet so they can start contributing to society. So overall, the purpose and quality of a college education has changed dramatically. Choosing the right major and university is important. I do believe education is important, but given how education is run today, I don't think the quality is worth it.